Daniel here for Tabletop for One, and my first impressions after 4 plays of Age of Comics. Now, Age of Comics is a game that is published by Lirius Games, and it is a Kickstarter that delivered late last year, and I received a review copy recently. So do keep in mind the bias that comes with that. But in Age of Comics, you are in charge of a comic publishing company. You're going to be hiring writers and artists and using editors to do various things, and you're going to try and drum up the fan base for various comics that you publish. And in the solo mode for the game, you're going to be competing against a card-driven automa, and you'll compete against the automa to see who has the most points. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the production quality. The production quality of this game is fairly standard, all right? There's nothing particular that jumps out. Now, the art and graphic design, however, is really well done. I really appreciate that. I like the art on the different comic covers. There's not actually real comic covers here, but the art that they use is really good, and it really kind of gives that nostalgic feel. The graphic design and color choices really fit for this game. It really looks good on the table. There's a lot of good things there. The component quality, though, is just standard cardboard, standard cardstock, and some wooden components. But like I said, it's really kind of a standard affair. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, this is a worker placement type of game. So on your turn, you're going to be placing a worker out on the board and doing the associated action. There's a whole bunch of actions that you can do. You can hire writers and artists, and then you can develop comics. You'll choose comics from a market. You can also brainstorm ideas. You'll need ideas to help publish comics. And then you can print the comics. And so when you print a comic, you're going to use a writer, an artist, a couple ideas, and you're going to print that comic. However, there's another way that you can print a comic. And what you can do is you can kind of steal and do a knockoff of what your opponent has done. And the opponent can do the same to you. So if your opponent printed the comic Haunting Tales, you could actually print the comic Harrowing Tales. It's a knockoff version of that, and so it doesn't actually take any ideas, so you don't need the ideas resource for that. It doesn't give you as many fans because it's a knockoff, right? So the fans aren't, tuned into that as well as the original, but it's still a way to drum up some fans and some money, and sell some comics. So it's a really interesting concept there. And there's a couple other actions you can do, like royalties, and that's going to help you get some more money. But the one really cool action, and it works really well in this game, is called sales. And what it is you actually have a map out on the board, and you move a little token on the map when you do sales. But what you're looking for is you're looking for different areas on the map, and they're looking for certain genres of comics. There's like 6 different types of genres, and so you're trying to find areas on the map that correspond to comics that you've created. And so when you do that, you're going to compare the tokens out on the board to the level of the comic that you've written. And the level corresponds to your writer and artist ability. And if it matches, then you can take that token and add fans to your comic. And this is where the game really shines. It's this idea that you're tracking the fans and the popularity of the comics on a tracker. There are 4 different trackers and 1 for each player color. And so when you publish a comic, you're going to take the comic token, put it on the tracker. And as the game moves on, it's going to move up and down throughout the game. And at the end of the game, you're going to score based on how well they do. Also, between rounds, you're going to get income based on where your comics are at on that tracker. It's a really neat idea, and I really like it. So you're not tracking victory points in the traditional sense of, around the board you have a little tracker. In this case here, you're actually tracking it based on how well your comics are doing and how much you invest in getting a fan base out there, how much you do with the sales orders. There's also other options that you can do. You can build your engine by, publishing more comics and unlocking these action cubes that augment the actions, the worker placement spots on the boards that help you develop more fans for your projects. And so there's a lot of really good things there. I really enjoy that. It's just a fun addition to the gameplay. The tracks are stellar. The sales map is stellar. Those 2 things really make this game a unique game in my collection. What could otherwise be a standard worker placement affair, those 2 things elevate it. And so now let's talk about the ease of solo play. So as far as this game goes, it's fairly easy to learn. Now the game actually tells you, learn the multiplayer game first, and then try the solo mode. And I actually advise that. Just play two-handed solo at first. It'll get you used to the actions, it'll get you used to the strategy and how things go, and then jump into the solo mode. Now, the solo mode is fairly straightforward. There are some AI priorities that you have to learn, so you're going to be referencing the solo game book. It's its own manual, but it's only a few pages long. But after the few plays, you're going to learn those priorities, and it's going to be pretty easy. It's not going to be too hard to remember them. Now, there is no player aid that tells you those priorities. So like I said, you're going to reference that rule book, but after, probably 2 or 3 plays, you won't even be picking up that rule book anymore. And so it's fairly straightforward. The AI is going to take its turns, and you're going to flip over a card, and it's going to tell you what it's going to do. And if you can't do the first action, it'll do the next action. If you can't do that one, it'll do the third action, and so on. And it all involves placing a worker out on the board, doing the action. They're going to print comics. They're going to, be able to do things a little bit easier than you would have. So that there's a little bit of a cheating factor as far as the AI goes, but it really simulates another player, and I appreciate that. And the AI is really going to kind of get in your way, because there have been plenty of times where I wanted to do something and the AI got in my way. Let's say I wanted to get a particular writer-artist combo. Well, the AI took it before me. Or I wanted to get a particular comic. Well, the AI took that one for me. Or it wanted the map tiles, the sales orders, because the AI picks sales orders that I would want. It so blocks you in a lot of different ways. Now, here's the thing. The AI is actually easy to beat on easy and medium. So I highly recommend just going straight into the hard mode. And the hard mode is perfect. I think it's a great mode. It's very challenging, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But the easy and medium were just too easy. I was just scoring way ahead of them. Now, maybe it's because I understand the game mechanics real well. I play a lot of worker placement games, and so maybe I just kind of recognized how to score well early, but it definitely is better with the hard mode. And so now let's jump into replayability. Now, in replayability of this game, it's really going to depend on whether you like the game concept and the game mechanics, because there isn't a lot to change between the games. There really isn't. Yes, different comics come out and different writers and artists, but they're all very similar in what they do. And you're going to find yourself kind of upgrading your engine the same way or similarly. And even with the map being randomly generated at the beginning of the game, it's not going to really change a whole lot on how you approach the game. So the gameplay each game is going to be very, very similar. So it really depends on whether you like that core gameplay. And if you do, you're going to find a lot of enjoyment throughout the game. But if you don't, then you're going to play it 4 times and think, is this it? I'm just going to sell it off at this point. And I hate saying that because I really enjoy the gameplay myself, but I just want to put it out there. There's not a lot of replayability inherent in this game. So definitely approach this game knowing that. But do I see myself replaying it? Yeah, I do. I really do. I enjoy this game. I love worker placement games, so I do see myself playing this quite a bit more. And so let's talk about my recommendation. Do I recommend this game? I really do. If you like the comic theme, if you like the idea of publishing comics, if you like that idea of manipulating the fan base and doing the sales orders and tracking the comics on the tracks, I think that works out really well. If you don't like that idea, and if you don't like the fact that there isn't a lot of, variation between gameplay, then you probably shouldn't pick up this game. But for me, I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed those unique things that I find in this game. I think they work well together. They provide a different experience for me. Now, I don't think this is Game of the Year material. I really don't. I think, if I were to rate it on the Board Game Geek scale, I would probably rate it between a 7 and an 8. But that's not to say it's a bad game. Absolutely not. It's a good game. I enjoy it, but it may not be for everyone. And so there you have it. That was my first impressions after 4 plays of Age of Comics, The Golden Years by Lirius Games. Again, bear in mind that I received a review copy and the inherent bias that may go along with that. I always try to provide you with my honest opinions of the game. But let me know in the comments below what you think of this game, what you think of my review. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And I thank my Patreons for the support of this channel, and I thank you for joining me on Tabletop for One. Have a great night.